we'll go on to some NFL news. No, that's what a lot of people are here for. So I've got my exciting news that I was looking forward to, hopefully happening, that I spoke about in previous weeks. But my boy Everson Griffen is back. Woo!
I'm very happy for you.
Woo!
Should we do it?
Oh yeah. So
all right, Evo has
got the boy back.
He brought his jersey in. We're gonna get his jersey officially hung up in Hangar 6 to go along with mine. I'm not turning mine around because that's a Colt McCoy jersey. But we're going to get Everson Griffen on the wall, get him part of the lineman lounge. Here we love offensive line, and we love defensive linemen, especially DNs. So there's your boy up on the wall.
Oh, yeah. We got the styling, profiling, limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling and dealing son of a gun, Everson Griffen, my boy. Yeah, he's been my favorite Viking for quite a while. Dude is insane. And when I say he's insane, I don't mean just like he's an insane football player. He's a little bit kooky in the head, and I love that about him. Other than, obviously. So Everson Griffen, drafted in the 4th round by the Vikings years and years ago. Over a decade ago. And he's been around there with Jared Allen, Brian Robeson, Daniil Hunter now. He's been one of our stalwart defensive ends for a long time. Great in the run, great in the pass, and he's always just kind of been off the hinge. He had a mental break a couple years ago, and I actually said, hey, you know what? He should just get himself right, maybe take the rest of the year off. He came back. Obviously, he was medicated to some extent. I'm glad that he was able to get some help. But he, didn't seem the same after that, and then the next year after, looked great. Looked great again, like the Everson that I remember. He's always fun to watch, and when he's talking to reporters and stuff like that, dude's got a great lisp. He likes to talk about how the glutes are the key to a football player and everything like that. But I'm super happy to have him back.
And I know he's happy to be back after reading some of the reports.
Oh yeah,
he was saying, "Listen, I thought the grass was going to be greener on the other side." Goes to Dallas first, then Detroit. Realizes the grass is definitely not greener with either one of those two teams. He's like, I need to be back in the purple, and
yeah,
he's super excited to be there. Man.
Yeah, so I watched his whole press conference when he first talked to the media. I watched it yesterday, and that's one of the great things about Everson is that he is extremely open and direct with reporters. If you ask him a question, it's very rare that he's not going to answer it for you, and he's going to answer it honestly and bluntly, which is, he takes ownership on these things, which is something that I really value in a player. So he like he said, he's like, I thought the grass would be greener on the other side. I left, I found out that it wasn't. He's like, I never sold my Minnesota home. This is where my family is. This is these, the fans here actually show me love. I like being here. This is where I feel like my home is. I never should have left in the first place. And then he's also owned up to his mistakes. So with those issues with his mental health previously, he took the time to come out and take the hard questions and own up to them with what happened. Which, he wasn't arrested or anything like that. Police were involved, but basically he was having some sort of a mental break and trying to get into a house and things like that. He had, I don't want to call it a mental break, and I don't want to speak for the man, but he obviously has stuff that he is dealing with still to this day, because it's not just like, oh, you take a pill and fix it type thing.
Yeah, that's not one of those things that just goes away.
But I mean, he had been lobbying to try to come back to the team all off season. And he wasn't getting a whole lot of feedback from the team and stuff like that because they were focused on the draft, free agency with new players and stuff like that. They kind of know what they have in Everson, which he's not the player that he once was. He is falling off to an extent, but last year was really his first down year, and he still had 6.5 sacks.
Right.
While learning new playbooks and jumping around to different teams and stuff like that, and schemes that really didn't fit him. But he did kind of vent frustrations at one point in time on Twitter directed towards Kirk Cousins. He said Kirk Cousins is ass, and asked Zimmer if he even wants Kirk, which there's been a contingent that thinks that Mike Zimmer kind of doesn't want Kirk around anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much I put faith in that. I think everyone has that's a Vikings fan has their frustrations with Kirk Cousins. And he says he'll tell you the truth. Who wanted Kirk Cousins? Take your guess. Kind of alluding to it's more of like a GM front office that wanted Kirk. They wanted the stable guy, which I get. But reporters asked him about that in his press conference yesterday, and he said, "You know what? I made a mistake. I was upset. I've apologized to the team, to the front office, and I'm going to man-to-man talk to Kirk and apologize to him and explain my situation." He's like, "I love Kirk. Kirk's a good guy." He's like, "I was venting, taking out my frustration where it didn't need to be." I'm just really excited to have him back on the team. We're kind of, doing that whole get the band back together thing. We've got 3 of our 4 defensive linemen from the past, 5 years or so. Daniil Hunter, Everson Griffen, Sheldon Richardson's back.
Yep.
Linval Joseph, I don't think is coming back, but, I love Linval too. But it's cool to have that there. Zimmer said that they plan on using Everson as a rotational guy at this point,
That makes
sense.
sense.
Which is perfectly fine, even though I know that Everson still holds up very well in the run. He also is still explosive off the pass. And we don't have a true solid number 2 starting defensive end. We've got a second-year player in DJ Wanham and a returning vet, Stephen Weatherly, who took a year away from the team with the Panthers. DJ Wanham and Weatherly both have their pros, but they aren't necessarily stalwart. You're starting this guy as your second defensive end. So I think that Everson Griffen's role with the team, while it might be rotational at least to begin with, which is what they have to do, bringing him back in.
Right.
He'll rotate, but it might be a heavy rotation and could become where he's starting a lot more. And the guy ain't young. This is, I believe, his 12th year in the league. So, he needs to rotate more.
That gives you guys a nice little rotation on the opposite side of Daniil.
It makes me feel way more comfortable about the end situation.
Yeah. Everson Griffen he's one of those guys that, like you said, is a little crazy. I like that in my DNs. I want somebody who wants to smack somebody in the mouth. He is that guy. Obviously, he's getting older, but he can still play ball. I think having him back there, that's going to reinvigorate him because he's not a guy that played with a ton of energy while he was away from the Vikings. But, yeah, excited for you guys. I'm sure Everson is excited. I know you're excited.
Yeah, Sack Daddy's back, baby.